fireworks are starting to go off all around me in the neighborhood. I'm compelled to tell a story and to highlight some rebels, dare I say patriots, from my home state of California who fully 20 years ago were motivated and decided to break free from the strictures of the past and make wine with using lessons that they learned in Europe and brought home to California, going against the grain at great personal short-term deficit and risk, but for a long-term vision that they saw for a chance at a better future for wine culture, at least. They wanted to make wine free from the strictures of Franzia and Rombauer and Francis Ford Coppola without additives, using sustainable farming techniques and minimal intervention in the vineyard. They were, as far as I know, not rich people. They weren't big-time landowners. They didn't have holdings of grapes that they could live next to and make estate-grown wines. They started sourcing fruit from the Bay Area and Northern California and bringing it to a facility in West Berkeley, which has now become what they call like an urban wine ghetto, a small sort of neighborhood of warehouse wineries that source grapes and bring them to make them at facilities, but work with individual farmers. They were early in the game making skin contact orange wines. Now 20 years later, they're still making great stuff. It's been a while since I've checked in on their red wine, so I wanted to taste this 2021 Donkey and Goat If Then California Red Wine Blend. One thing that Donkey and Goat, it's two people that started it. I don't know a lot about them. I've visited their facility a couple times. It's a wonderful place to visit if you're ever in Berkeley. One thing that they were early on doing that a lot of California winemakers, especially Northern California winemakers, weren't doing, they give you a lot of information on the label. And even in this case, they don't tell you what grapes are in the bottle. That's not as important because this is meant to be a blend. This is meant to be a kind of like a hits, like a best of. I imagine medium or medium plus bodied, very drinkable, well-balanced red, rather than saying, we live in the Russian River Valley and we grow Pinot Noir and we're gonna make you this Pinot Noir every year no matter what from our estate wine. They're like, no, we have a variety of different grapes around us. We're going to make a drinkable wine using blending things together, and that's a whole art in and of itself, as they do in Bordeaux and many other very famous and reputable wine regions. So yeah, Donkey Goat has been going since 2004, so that makes them an early pioneer of California natural wine. They learned from a winemaker in the Rhone Valley in France, a famous natural winemaker, and they do great work. Let's see. I got this at Silver Lake Wine. I think it was about $30, which at this point is a decent deal, unfortunately, but worth it, you know? It's not super high-end. It's not just, you know, box wine. It's somewhere in the middle, and that's where you got to go at this point for really well-balanced, sustainable wine. All right, beautiful, medium, sort of dark. I'm not great with what colors are. I don't know, this is garnet, dark, almost brick, bloody red. They do use oak here, but they're used oak barrels, so old wood barrels. So you may perceive some barrel note, but it's not going to be super toasted, super sweet, vanilla-y, coconutty oak like you see in a lot of the traditional Sonoma and Napa winemakers. This is a more restrained and muted use of oak. Oak is used in the aging to let the wine breathe and for storage, but not to flavor the wine necessarily. But I do smell a surprising amount of earth. Oh, I'm such a slob. I do smell a surprising amount of earth. Hold on, I'm gonna clean that, 1 second. Jesus. Okay, so as I was saying, this is not just all fruit. Although I'll bet you a lot of these earth smells are coming from the grapes and not from the barrel. Wow. Quite complex. Kind of reminds me of the heritage blend that the Bedrock wine maker used to make after it's aged for some time, but this is relatively young. This is only 4 years old and it's quite complex. So I'm struggling to like say what I'm experiencing here, but there's like a dusty, brambly, raspberry and blackberry with a subtle green and almost like mulling spice vibe to it. maybe a hint of an old oak barrel that I am perceiving, but it's a really cool and balanced, fresh but dark aroma, and ripe with some pretty, like, very ripe plum as well. It delivers the same kind of balance on the tongue, but a little more zip than expected. Acid is almost dominating tannin, but there is tannin. It keeps you, it's got that salivating acidity and fruitiness that makes you want to come back for more. You can drink this chilled or unchilled. There's definitely almost like a gusher's quality of like juiciness, but not in a cloying way, in just a delicious way. I kind of am down with this as like a barbecue wine, with grilled or smoky things, with very umami flavors. Wow, really cool. The delicate green note is there, but with this almost like candied apple fun fruitiness. Really well balanced wine. Clearly, they're doing paying close attention to detail and really blending with intention here, and it's paid off. I don't want to say too much about it, but yeah, you know, they have a manifesto on the website. There's many different natural wine manifestos, but I like what they say here. Our wines are handmade from sustainably farmed vineyards. In the cellar, we follow the same philosophy. The wines are spontaneously fermented and aged in older oak until bottled. Straightforward, no mess. 12.9% alcohol, which is great. Almost low for a California red wine blend. 540 cases made, that's modest, but not tiny. Really good. If then California red wine blend, 2021.